Well, a fine Tuesday evening to you folks. Welcome to Got Your Back, live stream, post-game edition. Brought to you by Mid-City Construction Management. Ryan Rishaug here in the Sherwood Park Got Your Back studios. Well, that was something. One of the more dominating performances of the season. And I know it's tough because you look at the goals against and you think, well, could it have been? Yeah, it was. In particular, that second period. Unfortunate they let that late one in because 4 against is a lot uglier than 3, but a real solid performance tonight by the Edmonton Oilers. Joaquin Gage, Gager, once again filling in for Jason Strudwick, who's flittering about in the mountains on a little bit of time off. Gager's going to join us here in just a moment. A reminder that Got Your Back, short shift edition, is brought to you by Mid-City Construction Management. Awesome local company, specializes in civil construction projects, and they've done so for over 40 years. From roadways to excavation, underground utilities, paving, and concrete. They've played a big role in the infrastructure of Edmonton and surrounding area since 1980. Actually spent some time going out to a few of their job sites a couple of months ago. Really cool to see a locally owned and operated family company doing projects on that scale. They're also hiring. Go to mid-city.ca and click on careers, and you can see all that they have to offer, or you can search them on Indeed. They're looking for quality people, and they're a quality company. So check out Mid-City Construction. That's mid-city.ca. Gager, how are we doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm good. That was in the words of Nuke Lelouch. That was a humdinger.
That was a Nuke Lelouch. Where did you pull that one out of, my man?
I don't.
Where'd you get that one from? What is that?
These things just pop into my head. I don't know why I just thought of that. That's crazy. But,
that's awesome.
I think that's how you can summarize that game.
Yeah, man. Pretty good game. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna break it down. We are streaming tonight on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter as well. So definitely encourage you to chime in with your comments on that game. Gager and I will take some of your questions, some of your comments. Want to get you involved here. Jaden Vodrin is already saying on YouTube, Gage is back with exclamation points. Enjoy his inputs on the games. Yes, absolutely. Whether it be on Sportsnet, Oilers Plus, on Dusty's podcast, Two Guys and a Goalie. 1260, you do some stuff, and here on Got Your Back, man. You're just like, there's not many media folks you won't hop into bed with, hey, bud?
No, I'm the media bike.
Yeah, that's okay. You gotta, get yourself out there, man. But it's great. Happy to have you back-to-back nights here on the podcast. So I suppose, Gager, the only place to start with this game has to be Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I mean, the ridiculous season continues for Nugent-Hopkins. I'm just going to go over his stats line here. 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. I think that matches his career best. Only 2 shots on net, but he played 18:47 and put up 5 points. Nugent-Hopkins, a few second assists in there, but who cares? He's just so sure-handed on that power play. We talked about it last night. Just a great night as he closes in on 100 points for the first time in his season. His career best was 69 before this.
Yeah.
What is happening?
I like, and I think it was you that used the phrase sure-handed with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
I might have coined that phrase.
You might want to start some apparel soon if he keeps scoring like this. It's not a bad little... But no, just a great game. Such a great facilitator of the puck, and the way
good. That's sure-handed facilitator of the puck.
Yeah, well,
that's
my clothing line.
Yeah, highbrow analysis from a couple of meatheads like you and I. Goodness,
but it's unreal what he's doing, and even going like. His goal, usually I'm thinking, this is going low blocker, and he decides to go back against the grain, against Quick, and goes high glove. Just 5 points this evening. I'm happy about that because we were talking about, is he going to get to 100 or not? I think it's not a question of how, it's when at this point. That I mean, we'll probably get to that PP, but that is he is. It's great to see him at the highest level of performance in an Oilers uniform that we've ever seen Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and there has been some high levels of play from him over the past 12 years.
No question about it. You know what I did, Gager? So I started the live stream without hitting record on the audio or on the video, which means when I go to put this to podcast format, just audio, it's going to miss that entire first segment. So I
that's
totally
too bad.
watch this. No. I think I might do a fix here. If the people on the live stream will just sort of like indulge me, I'm going to do a quick little re-intro here. We're going to edit on the fly. That's one thing we have never made any bones about the fact.
Sweet.
We live with our mistakes here on Got Your Back. So if you're listening to this on podcast, you just missed the first like 90 seconds of the pod. So let's just fake another little intro, all right?
All right, let's do it.
Here we go. Here comes the music. You know it. You love it. Our podcast theme music. Welcome to Got Your Back. Take 2. Brought to you by Mid-City Construction Management. An awesome company. An awesome local construction company. 40 years. They've been specializing in civil construction projects for a long, long time. They got lots of job openings right now, too. So check them out on Indeed. Search them. Or go to mid-city.ca and click careers. Gager, how are you, my man? No, I'm kidding. We're not going to we're not redoing the hellos. Thank you for your indulgence.
Hey.
I'm a dummy tonight, but we now have our podcast intro. I like the first one better.
Yeah, that was a good one, though. You know what? The people talk about it. It's you join early if you want the good stuff, right?
Exactly.
So,
I love editing on the fly. The thing about Nugent-Hopkins, for him to go from a career best of 69 points to what he's doing right now, and we kind of discussed this a little bit last night, Gager, but I don't see a tremendous difference in the way that he's playing the game. He's putting up points at a greater pace. You know, I mean, I think his shot is better, and I think he's using it in a different way this year a little bit. But it seems like it's the same old Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for the most part. His temperament is the same out there. Looks in large part like the same player. He's just a heck of a lot more efficient putting up points.
Well, you know, I think last night you had a text saying that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was upset with his production of last year, right? And that resonated with me even in today's game, and just you speaking about him now. And these guys are tight. Like that, the reason why this power play is so good, these guys have been playing together for a long time too.
They just know, hey? They just know.
Yeah. Like I remember a few years ago, I was back at Rexall, and it's when the Caps were just clicking. And their power play was reminiscent of what they just knew where everyone was all the time. They were just operating at such a higher level. And I don't know if you've ever asked the question of Connor and Leon. Leon's mentioned that he talks to Connor throughout the summer, or they hang out a little bit and discuss what, and I'm sure Ryan Nugent-Hopkins must have been part of those conversations at some point. And like, you know, these guys are, we talked about their maturity level and where they're at now. And I think they can give constructive criticism to one another. And that was probably one of the things that popped up with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, because he has performed at a completely different level on the production side of the puck without, dare I say, without a lot of negative kind of how he operates in the defensive zone too.
Sometimes you got to give up a bunch at the other end to push numbers like this, and I haven't really noticed that in his game. I don't know.
I haven't seen any of that at all. So, man, and I think on the broadcast they said like any other year he's talked about as an MVP candidate, right? But yeah, it's crazy. What a year.
I'm getting chirped pretty hard here in the Weiss Johnson mentions.
Perfect.
Feel it's probably my responsibility to own my mistake and read some of them. JL says, great, rerun episodes already.
That's funny.
Neil Garrity says, I'm getting deja vu. I'll eat that one. Ridley Chen says, Ryan, why are you sporting Kraken colors? WTF. I never even really thought about that. Whatever. It's Tentry. I love Tentry. I just threw it on tonight.
Perfect.
Gretzky 215 is trying to coin the phrase Ryan Nuclear Hopkins. No, we're going to put a stop to that right now. Gretzky. Nice try. That's definitely not going to happen. Nugent-Gage forever is another one of the comments coming in. Yeah, real good night from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, a signature night. Heading towards 100 points. It's going to be something when he gets there. Good for him. What a season it's been. All at the cheap, tidy little price of $5.125 million. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
What a deal.
It's everything's just lining up roses for everything with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. It's not much more to say. Just game 83. Keep it going.
Can we discuss what you're wearing? Can we just should probably just deal with that here real quick? It's race weekend. We're still a few days out though. So you're just super excited, or what?
I just get ready for this stuff, and just if I can.
It's a costume. You're in a costume. What are you wearing?
This is a deluxe jacket. This is a Red Bull deluxe jacket.
But is it would you wear that out to dinner? Is it like a jacket that you would wear outside to keep you warm, or is it a costume?
It's getting super warm like this, but I don't want to take it outside just because it's too nice. It's super nice, this jacket. It's crazy.
Am I getting paid by Tag Hour, Mobile One, Honda, and Red Bull, Puma,
and Red
on the
Bull.
podcast tonight? Is there?
They're my sponsors, Ryan. I gotta do my part for my sponsors here, but no, the Oilers were kind of like the Vegas came out first. Oilers cut through them like a Red Bull car race. They started out as an Aston Martin and kind of finished the game like a Ferrari. So
definitely getting some comments on the Red Bull jacket here on the stream as well. Let's get to Evander Kane. Do you know that Evander Kane had 11 shots on net tonight? 14 attempts and 4 hits. He's been trying to find his game for a little bit here, Gage. Tonight looked like a night where he came out and was almost like pissed off at himself for not having done enough and made enough of an impact the way he knows he can and wants to. So he just went out and got it tonight.
He was a Tasmanian devil out there. We hadn't seen that type of. I thought he might have still been injured, to tell you the truth, Ryan. Came back a little bit early, but this put all that to rest. Hitting, just the drive, and his shot. He's one of the only Oilers that has that ability to score from distance, and he's not afraid to use it at times, right? And just going to the net, causing havoc for D-men. He was great tonight. I'm glad to see him have that type of game, because I did think that just with the injuries and the amount of time that he's missed, that things were kind of just catching up to him a little bit there, just being so late to the ball of the season where it's operating at such a high level. We saw how he was able to adjust last year and catch up really quickly. So this is a killer sign for the Oilers if he's starting to feel it. I mean, having that many shots and being that dangerous all night, it's a scary proposition for opponents.
Weird stat line of the night. Connor McDavid, 3 assists, 0 shots on net. According to the event summary here, when was the last time he had 0 shots on net? I might even have the game log of the players up. I'm going to look and see. Is there a McDavid 0 shots on net? Yeah, there was one earlier this season too. Or no, one. Doesn't happen often. I can tell you that. It definitely doesn't happen very often. That's interesting, a stats line for him. But still, he was working it around, doing his regular thing out there. Ho-hum night for McDavid. 3 assists and no shots on net. By the way, 10 of 14 draws. The Oilers crushed him in the face-off circle. I mean, maybe this is an opportunity to talk about one of the most dominating performances in a period they've had all year. Let's talk about that second period. We'll hop over to Natural Stat Trick. And a couple of the stats you pull. Actually, let's grab the even strength stats here. Shot attempts, 30-11 in the second period. I mean, What else they got here? Scoring chances for and against 13-7. Just absolutely dominant. They outshot them. Where's the shots on net? 20-5. They outshot them overall. I mean, this is a statement game for the Oilers. This is a team they might be facing in the playoffs, a team that they've gotten the better of most of the way this season. They just dropped one to them, but they came out tonight, Gager, and they overwhelmed them in a couple of different ways. They didn't give up much. Their power play was devastating, and this was a statement game against a team they might face in the playoffs. I think, full marks to the Oilers for recognizing the opportunity tonight and just punching these guys right in the face right before playoffs.
Always good to put that little sliver of doubt in the back of a possible opponent in the playoffs' minds, right? They operated. I mean, I thought both teams operated at a pretty high level at the beginning of the game. I loved the slap back in the face with the power play again. I thought I was watching last night's game. I was like, oh, is this on the PVR? Like they just
6 seconds it took them last night, 7 seconds it took them tonight. Oh, and by the way, we're talking about this dominant performance. The Oilers played last night. This was the second of back-to-backs. So let's just add that in when we're talking about what they did to Vegas tonight.
Well, then I looked at because I wasn't sure the Vegas schedule, but they've had time off, right? They've been able to kind of regroup from the last game against the Oilers, probably break some stuff down and get really ready for this. And they did not have an answer in that second period. They operated at such a high level of execution and speed and tenacity it was scary. I didn't even want to come on the podcast and pump their tires because I don't want to give them too much credit. I feel like it's bad mojo to do that. But wow, what a second period! And I think the Oilers have been one of the best teams in the league in the second period all year. They've dominated teams at that point. I don't know what it is. The changing or just the length. The speed the Oilers can play at, but man, that was the best period of hockey that the Oilers have played all year.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
That's the bottom line.
I don't necessarily have the best memory here to remember the entire season, but I don't recall after a game pointing to a period this dominant and sort of circling it the way that we're going to circle this one. Oilers have played some great hockey, man. 22-5-6 since their loss to the Los Angeles Kings in Game 42. That stat coming to us from Steve Woloshin. Let's get to the Weiss Johnson Twitter and YouTube mentions. 45 years that Weiss Johnson has been functioning in our community. If you need a new furnace, garage heater, air conditioner, hot water tank, or if you have those things already and you need them serviced, Weiss Johnson can take care of all of those needs. They are the place to go, and they've got some great specials on right now. If you buy any one of those things I just mentioned before the end of the month, so you can squeeze it in here, you'll get a $500 gas card. Dennis and Company over at Weiss Johnson, feeling generous this month. 5803 Roper Road is the address, or give them a call, 780-463-3096. Cue the jingle.
Weiss Johnson, Weiss Johnson, whoa.
Okay, Josh Vanderswag says, hey guys, how happy have you been with Ekholm? I think that deadline acquisition was amazing by Ken Holland. We've talked about it a fair amount on these podcasts. I'm sure you've talked about it too. This was not just a new team bump. Sometimes players, a change happens and they get to their new location and the world is rosy and they have a nice little 4 or 5 game bump. Sometimes it goes the other way and it takes them a month. But we're getting into it here with Ekholm. It's been a while since the deadline, and I would say his level of play has been pretty darn consistent, and he continues to help this blue line night in, night out by stabilizing where other players are too.
It's when I think about Ekholm, it feels like he's been with the team the whole year. It's his presence is. Just trying to look at all the other acquisitions through the trade deadline and kind of measuring them up. He was the piece that fit so seamlessly, but it's puzzling to me because a lot of times in those situations, the only one team kind of gets right. You can also disrupt the whole kind of chemistry within the room, especially when a new player comes in. Obviously, that's going to take time away from another player or move someone out of the lineup. That it can cause a disruption. He has been we talk about pieces of the puzzle, Ryan, and his was that piece that was underneath the table that we couldn't that the Oilers couldn't find, and putting that in, it's I don't know if it's a work of art yet, but it's looking really, really good so far. I've been completely impressed with his play.
For months we debated the options, and Chychrun was somebody that I was mentioning quite often because I thought there was a way for them to get Chychrun without having to subtract any of their regulars. So I thought maybe that might be a good option. We talked about Gavrikov and Edmondson and Goss Despair and a bunch of these different guys. Ekholm felt like, of the main names we were talking about, he felt like the one that was a little bit less within reach. But Ken Holland got this done. And I think this was we have to give him full credit. This was a really good read on the market and on what his team needed. And they went out and added a player that has affected numerous other players in their lineup. Evan Bouchard's been a different player. And I know there's some chatter on the stream here about Evan Bouchard and some frustration, right? The mental lapses. I don't know that those are going anywhere ever. I think they're part of his makeup, and I think he's working on it. But, we've been watching him do it since the day he arrived, and he's cutting them out to a degree, but there's still going to be those sometimes. But he's been a different player, more confidence, and the way he's handling the puck on the power play and making plays, right? So just the bump that Evan Bouchard has gotten, the organization took a gamble. And I really pointed this out when they made that trade. I said they're betting on Evan Bouchard here by moving Tyson Barrie. They're going all in on this guy. They're going to need him to be way more than he currently is this season. And he's answered that bell in a big, big way, Gage. I give him a lot of credit. It hasn't been perfect, but it's never going to be. He's been excellent in this role since the organization handed him this baton.
Yeah, there's certain players that I've played with in the past, and Evan Bouchard fits the mold of a guy that wants to have that responsibility put on him. I think that having Tyson Barrie in the lineup, Tyson Barrie being the quarterback of that power play, that's kind of Bouchard's, that's what he did. That's what he wanted to do. And I think as soon as that trade was made, he realized that, here's my chance. I've got the responsibility on this power play now. And he's grabbed it like a dog with a bone and taken off with it. The first few, I found he was a little bit unsure of himself, but he hadn't been on the power play at that point. But you see what he can do, and with that shot that he possesses, it definitely keeps teams honest with the way he can shoot the puck. That's a dangerous, and not that Tyson Barrie couldn't shoot the puck either, but it just feels a little bit different with Bouch back there.
Yeah.
The Bouch bum is a little bit different. Good for him. And even the goal, the shorthanded, that puck was bouncing. I looked at it again. I was like, oh, okay, that's a tough goal. Probably should have been a little bit more physical with the contact, but a bouncing puck, sometimes stuff like that happens.
Yeah, he's been exposed on the wall there a few times, and I think that's a sore spot for Oilers fans. They see that and they're like, ooh, flashbacks to some tough goals against. But overall, he's been pretty good. Curb84, who, by the way, he's getting a little chirpy on the YouTube stream here, but I will read one of his comments. I remember this guy on TSN 1260 crying about Barrie leaving and ruining the power play. I wasn't crying. I was expressing concern that the league's best power play was removing one of the core principal pieces, and I wondered how Evan Bouchard would do stepping into there. I think it was fair to wonder that. So I don't think I was crying. I think I was pointing out risk involved in the trade. If you don't want to be part of intelligent conversation, don't be part of it. Don't exaggerate. Nobody was crying. Get over it, man. I don't know why people have to be so chirpy like that.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
I might have shed a tear though. That could have been aimed at me. I don't know.
Did you? Were you rattled on 1260 at two? Were you doing? That's what I was saying on the radio. I was worried about what this could potentially mean for the power play.
How could you not? Right? Like
Right.
we're seeing something that hasn't been done in decades, and it's not slowing down. And such a like the quarterback, well, there's a few quarterbacks on that power play. Let's be honest,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but then I look at if it drops even 2%, what is that? It's still 30. So yeah, I was worried. I'll say that for sure. Because we just hadn't seen Evan Bouchard operate the power play because of how Tyson Barrie was playing, which was why the reason they had to give him up to get a player like Ekholm.
Just wasn't much offense in Bouchard's game for the first 2/3 of the season, right? The offensive confidence just wasn't there. But I mean, look at his minutes. I mean, his minutes have just shot through the roof. The confidence that's been injected into him, it's very obvious every single game. SJ Carruthers 89 asks, Gager, are you worried about what you've seen from Skinner in terms of some softer goals recently? Give us your analysis.
Am I worried? I'm not. No, I'm not too worried, to tell you the truth. I think the way that Stuart's, and I think I've said this before, the way that Stuart Skinner plays, although he hasn't played at that top level that he was at a few weeks ago, the foundational base that he possesses, his fall from playing really good to losing it is a lot shorter than a lot of other goalies trying to get it back.
Interesting.
We've seen that with Jack Campbell, where uses a lot more flow, more like quick, right? But foundationally, Stuart Skinner can just get back to his normal type of game and build it back up from there. It's not a leap. To tell you the truth, I hate playing against goalies like Stuart Skinner when I played that were more on the positional side because they made everything look so easy.
Right.
And look, when the puck's hitting Stuart Skinner in the chest, which it was doing a lot in that third period, like just no second chances. Was it a great game? No, but it was a good enough game to beat one of the best teams in the league. And I love the fact that he was able to shut it down and not give them another sniff too. I liked that they didn't allow that 3 to 5 minute gaff to allow the other team back in it. They dropped the hammer.
That's got to be a piss off, that last one, though, right? For a goalie, like 3 and you're not a great night, but 3 you can kind of live with if you get the win. That fourth one just sucks. Just unnecessary, just sucks for a tender. I mean, I'm sure he's happy to get the win.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a contract year, so who cares? But this is a stat that I'd like to see is how many of those goals that Stuart Skinner's allowed. Even Jack Campbell, he's been ahead in those kind of meaningless. It seems like the team always scores those meaningless goals at the end that kind of inflate the stats a little bit for these guys. But no, I think that he's such a mature young guy. He knows the ramifications of this win. Going in there as a young and winning this game, that can do wonders going into the playoffs too for him, knowing he can win in that building and succeed.
Scrub64 says, garbage time, who cares? I don't know. I think goalies, I think they care. 3 goals versus 4 goals, an unnecessary goal against. I think it was probably, happy to get the win, but probably agitated because he just chisels away at the numbers. But to your point, it's not like he's working his way towards a contract here.
Yeah.
How do you think Stuart Skinner is going to do when the pressure ramps up and the spotlight ramps up and the expectation ramps up? Because the Edmonton Oilers are a team that people look at and say they have a chance to compete for a Stanley Cup this year, but the goaltending is going to need to hold. What's your read on the way Skinner is going to handle that situation where it becomes so much more acute than it is spread out over an 82-game season?
I really like it. I like where he's at because you look at the progression of Stuart Skinner, and to him, I guarantee it's the next logical step for him to do what he's doing. So we went pro, we battled, we went to the East Coast League, we're in the American Hockey League. We were kind of in that third goalie kind of no man's land for a few years with the Oilers. Last year, tons of talk about goaltending and coming in and having some pretty good games. Like his last game that year was getting a shutout, I think, against the San Jose Sharks. Like that would have put a chip on my shoulder, and I'm sure it did for him going into this year. He's beaten out the supposed number one guy that came in to save everything. He's in the spot that he thinks he should be in anyways, and now he's going to the playoffs with a team with a chance to win the Stanley Cup. This is, to him, this is the next step. This is what, nothing, what are you talking about? This is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, bring it on.
And that's I hope that's the mindset of Stuart Skinner. I'm sure it's pretty close because most of the goalies, as you know, we're kind of a little bit off, Ryan, but that's kind of what everyone would be thinking, I think.
Interesting to take a team that's this deadly with this kind of opportunity, and it'll fall on the shoulders of a guy doing it for the first time. But he's mature, he's calm, and he's cool, and he's pretty collected. Any concerns? Is it the first shot 2 games in a row that he's let in here? Somebody mentioned that on the stream here. I don't know. Is that getting a guy's head a little bit? We saw it with Koskinen quite a bit. I don't know if it's a big deal.
I don't think it's a big deal, no. Not at this point. It got to that way with Koskinen, because didn't the first 4 go in one game? Something like that. So Koskinen? It was, poor Mikko.
Koskinen. Oh, did we spend a lot of time on the radio and on the pods? And man, we the amount of airtime that Mikko Koskinen and Jesse Puljärvi got in this town over the last 3-4 years, or however long he was around. Man, we dedicated a lot of bandwidth to a third and fourth line player and a backup goalie. Only in this town.
Only in this town, buddy. Only in this town. I don't know. We got to lay off the Finns because it'll look bad if another Finn comes in with the same things done. So,
oh man, you know what almost never happens, Gager? Vegas and LA almost never lose on the same night, and when they do, and the Oilers pick up a win, and in a 4-point game here, this is a big night in the standings for the Oilers. Sitting 5 back of Vegas now, sitting 3 back of Los Angeles, ready to face them in a couple of days here. So this sets up the Oilers coming off this performance, come home, little bit of a breather, and then boom, that game against the Los Angeles Kings. That's a big one. I'm telling you, I'm talking to people around town. They fear the LA Kings. So if there's any way the Oilers can see fit to putting a performance out there in a couple of nights like they did in this game, they'd be doing themselves and their fans a big favor.
Yeah, I do I look at the Kings as yes, because they're the bizarro Oilers with their defenders, right? So they worry me to a bit with their depth. Fiala scares me a little bit. I won't lie. That he's a really a whale of a player. Doughty in the lineup. But man, having this type of matchup early on in the playoffs, if you can beat that team moving forward, it's going to be hard anyway. But I want that series. I might be the only one in Edmonton wanting that series just from... Oh,
I think it'd be great.
I think it's going to be
great hockey. I'd love to see that series, yeah.
Because and everyone's talking, defense. Look, Connor McDavid's doing something that hasn't been done in decades. The Oilers are essentially revolutionizing hockey to an offensive league. Try and stop us. Try and stop us from scoring 4 or 5 a night. I dare you. It's essentially what they're doing right now. So I say bring it on, man. It was a great series last year. It's gonna be another great series this year. It's gonna be a great game Thursday. I can't wait.
Meanwhile, the Calgary Flames beat LA tonight. And the Calgary Flames, Though Winnipeg has a game in hand, they're sitting 2 points back of the Winnipeg Jets.
Look, we could still be seeing a Battle of Alberta in the first round. Like it's
That's crazy.
It's crazy, but it is possible. Could you imagine if by the end of the season here, Oilers finish first, Calgary gets in, they're playing Calgary first round. That's my dream, actually. That would be awesome. That would just be awesome.
Crazy talk. Crazy talk. What a rush to the finish line here it is for everybody. Jockeying for positioning, jockeying for playoff spots. Teams just shoot themselves in the foot over and over that are trying to get there. Like, what the heck is up with the Winnipeg Jets? It's going to be interesting. Imagine that, Battle of Alberta. Gager, thanks, man.
Hey,
2 nights in a row, you stepped in, dressed a little awkwardly tonight, but your information was rock solid on both nights, so it's appreciated.
Well, it's the first. Red Bulls in first. Oilers are trying to get first. I'm just trying to represent.
What does the family say? Like when you come down ready for your day, you're like, I'm just like everyone else. I'm going to go out into the world today and interact with people. And here's what I've chosen to wear. What reactions does the family give you?
Lewis Hamilton? No. No, they don't. They don't do that.
You're fine looking men.
I get some side glances, but I'm used to it by now, and they just deal with it.
Beauty. All right, Gager, thanks, man. We'll check in with you during the playoffs for sure, pal. I appreciate you pinch hitting.
Awesome. Take care, buddy.
All right, talk to you soon, my friend. That is Joaquin Gage joining us here on Got Your Back Short Shifts. Appreciate all of your participation here on the stream. We'll get in a couple of comments here before we go. Steve says, good show as always. Thank you, Steve. What else do we got here? Curb84, who was being a smartass earlier, says replace Struds. Still being a smartass, there, Curb. The Kings haven't played our post-deadline team, says Davin, who's maybe feeling a little bit more confident. Kings made some improvements too, though. Keep that one in mind. Pretty good team, got better. Did the Los Angeles Kings, short up their blue line a little bit. It's that Kopitar-Dano 1-2. When you look at the Draisaitl-McDavid, they're like the elixir for those two, right? The two defensive forwards against two of the best offensive players in the game. Something really juicy about that matchup. I think I would really like to see the Los Angeles Kings. Oilers historically light up Korpisalo. Fair enough. Oilers have a history. Offense does Korpisalo and Copley really scare us. We should not fear LA, says Robert89. WTF Winnipeg. I know, right? Says Scrub84. Awesome stuff, folks. Thank you so much for joining us here on the live stream. Really enjoy doing these podcasts with all of you. And we're going to keep doing them as we hurtle towards the playoffs and into the playoffs as well. So keep her locked on our social feeds, and we'll keep you up to speed on what we have planned and what's coming up next. Oilers in action in a couple of nights against the Los Angeles Kings. Definitely going to drop a podcast after that one. Probably post-game, and I think Struddy will be back. So looking forward to it. Have a fantastic finish to your night. Look forward to chatting with you again soon. Cheers, everyone. I'll give Mid-City an extra read here because I kind of botched theirs at the start of the podcast. A locally owned family company specializing in civil construction projects for over 40 years. From roadways to excavation, underground utilities, paving, and concrete, they've played a massive role in the infrastructure of Edmonton and surrounding areas since 1980. Sorry I pooched the start of the show, Mid-City. And folks, thanks for your patience. Have a good one.